Hey, welcome to the No Kidding Podcast. My name's Andrew.
And I'm Lisa.
I'll eat anything.
He'll eat anything. I won't. Well,
he will.
What will you eat? I want to know. Oh, I was thinking.
Get in the comments.
I've always said that my favorite food, like, because people are like, "What's your favorite food?" And I always
is that what other people sound like? What's your favorite food?
Yes, it's exactly.
Freaking other people. I can't believe it.
People are the worst. You know it. No, but like your favorite, like,
I'm people.
Not genre of food. I'm thinking like genres, like books and stuff. But what is it? Cuisine. Like your favorite cuisine.
All right, sure.
Yeah. And I've always said Italian because I like Italian and I love
Who
pizza.
doesn't?
Like pizza's probably my favorite food. If I had to pick a food, that was my favorite. However, I'm learning that like I don't think Italian is my favorite cuisine because really the only things I like that are Italian are ravioli and, well, I mean, I like lasagna, I guess, but certain pastas and pizza, which Italian really like encompasses a lot more than that. But I think...
Well, yeah, but that's the two main things. Like if somebody says Italian, if you go to an Italian restaurant, they're going to serve one of two things. It's going to be pizza or pasta.
Okay.
And, you know, occasionally you'll get like a soup or something.
Well, I do
Mainly,
like a
I'm
good
just
soup
getting
and
that from-
salad. That's true.
Yeah, but I feel like now we're just straying into Olive Garden territory.
Yeah, true. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
But I'm tending to gravitate, like whenever I think like, oh, what do if like it was a night where I had to make something, like what would I make? And yes, I do have cravings for things like pasta sometimes, but it's always more like in the Mexican realm. Like I'm like, I love a good taco. I love a good
what you
burrito
like
bowl.
to eat is different than what you like to make.
Oh, that's wow! You got deep there.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Asian cuisine, but I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite. I might go Mexican, but then you see that's like probably most often what I go and get is like Mexican or Tex-Mex or some kind of fusion there. And
yeah.
Whereas when I cook, I very regularly cook like Asian style meals.
Okay, so see, that's weird because like I don't want to say ever, because sometimes I do to cook tacos and like Mexican food, but usually I cook pasta because it's like easy, or I cook like vegetables and stuff like that because again, it's pretty easy. I like easy, as you could tell.
Of course.
But if
that's always a good option.
True. But if I order out, I usually go for like Mexican food, like tacos or burrito bowls. Oh my gosh.
Wait, so you're saying so Italian's nowhere on the spectrum.
Yeah, the only thing I ever order out for that is pizza because, and you know,
this maybe originated as like a birthday kind of thing because I feel like maybe it's like a special occasion. Maybe that's your favorite special occasion meal. Like if somebody's like, what's your favorite food? Most of the time when somebody asks you that, it's because they're about to take you out somewhere for some special occasion.
Okay, so I would probably pick Italian just because I know everybody would like Italian. Like there isn't one person that's going to be like, oh, Italian, gross. Like I'm pretty sure everybody can like get something out of Italian. Whereas
you pick your favorite food to please everyone else.
Yeah, well, that's kind of my whole life. I've learned is like I'm a people pleaser. Okay, I'm working on that.
Working on it.
I'm working on it.
I'm working to please people less.
No, not that.
Trying to piss the people off.
I'm just trying to please myself more.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think psychologically, I'm picking Mexican or something like that because I feel like it's like I'm eating out, but I still am getting like it seems healthier than getting like a burger or like I don't know what else do you get?
Big plate of Alfredo.
Well, I love Alfredo.
But it's not healthy.
So, that's true. Yeah. So it seems healthier than like pasta, I guess. So maybe that's why. But I have to tell you right now.
I feel like spaghetti's not bad though. Like marinara spaghetti, unless you're getting like big old fat meatballs, cheesy meatballs.
Yeah.
Or like a chicken parmesan because that's like deep fried and cheesy.
Well, okay. So maybe this is also the part of the problem is like whenever I eat pasta out, they only put like a couple ingredients in there. They've got like the noodles, the sauce, maybe chicken if you ask for it, and maybe sometimes one vegetable. And I like a lot of vegetables in my pasta. So like I'll chop up squash and zucchini and carrots and tomatoes and like mix it all in with my sauce and my pasta and stuff. So maybe that's why. Maybe I'm like...
You'd love ramen.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I'm a good ramen girl. I would love ramen.
How do you feel about egg, though?
You know,
tofu?
To be honest...
About the texture.
I've always been thrown off at the concept of having egg in my ramen, but I've never actually tried it, so it could be good. I don't know.
Jammy egg is like chef's kiss.
Okay, I don't know about a jammy egg.
A jammy egg. That's how you do it. Those are the ramen eggs. They're like
a little
cured...
jiggly inside.
Yeah, like the the yolk isn't runny or like hard boiled. It's in between. It's like kind of the consistency of jam.
I have a question about Asian cuisine, and this could be totally ignorant, but it seems to me that there's a predominant theme where things are not cooked all the way. What's that about?
Okay.
What is that about?
Well, I mean, I would say more so like a sunny side egg is less cooked than that.
Okay.
Because it's like
enough.
it's hard boiled, but it's more cooked than like a sunny side. But it's
there's also like raw fish, and like their vegetables aren't nice and chewy. They're like crispy. I guess that's probably healthier though.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess it kind of depends on what you're going for. Like obviously, like sushi is pretty uncooked. Besides the rice, pretty uncooked ordeal traditionally.
Mm-hmm. We have this place near us called Susai.
Susai? I call it Susai. I don't know that. I'm not correcting you. I have no idea how it's pronounced.
I don't either. So it could be Susai. I was thinking like they're suspect, but that seems...
It's basically sushi, but with a space in it.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you're right. Susai.
It's in between the S and the H. There's a space. I love that place. That place is great. It's
so I've been eating there, and I'm like, oh, this place is so good. Like everything I get there, I love.
Yeah, it's like a, if people don't know, I don't know if that's like a big chain. No, it's actually, I believe it's Orlando based. I think it was started at UCF.
Oh.
Yeah, so it is, or I say at UCF. We love saying that. Like, oh, it's a UCF grad. But it's somebody that graduated UCF, which is almost everybody in Orlando.
Right.
So yeah, it's like a kind of like a poke bowl kind of place. Like could build your own, sort of like Chipotle, but if it was all like poke style ingredients, like Asian food. So yeah, I love it because I will say lately they've gotten much pricier. And there was a while there where they were getting a little stingy with I think they were getting stingy with their ingredients. And then instead of doing that, because I think they probably got complaints, they just upped their prices. And so now the amounts are good, but it's up to like $15 for a bowl, which is pretty crazy.
It is really, I don't go enough because of that, because otherwise I'd eat there more often, because I know it's not healthy. I like to trick my brain, because it's like I'm eating healthy foods. Like there's lots of vegetables and stuff and whatever. So it's healthier than probably other things, and that's why I would prefer to get that over something else. But that sucks. Yeah. It just sucks that everything that is cheap is so bad for you, because I'm just like, but even the bad stuff's starting to get so expensive too. So,
you know what's really good? That's actually like, I mean, anywhere you eat out, like they tend to add a lot of like fats and like, like oil, fat, and and carbs sometimes, but salt. I don't know if you're somebody who avoids salt, but they usually, those come in high quantities when you're eating out, so you kind of can't avoid that. But besides that, I would say there are a lot of like the places that build like bowls and like that kind of like salad or grain bowls are generally like a little bit better. Like we're saying, like Susai, obviously people know about like Chipotle and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you tried kava. Kava is like amazing.
Yeah, we have a kava
and
here.
They're right now they're not very cheap or they're not very expensive. I think that like because they're kind of new, at least where I am, I feel like they're trying to break into the market, and so their prices are like really decent. And it's basically like Chipotle, or Susai, but if they did like Mediterranean style ingredients, so it's like you build kind of like a falafel bowl or something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's awesome because I feel like Mediterranean food is that perfect thing where it's like all the like vegetables that you know and love like go great with Mediterranean food, and even like the things that feel like they would be the cheat, like the sauces and stuff, like tzatziki, and they have a sauce called shug.
Yeah, they have like really good sauces.
Different stuff like that. That's like it's not actually as bad for you as it feels like. It feels like it's like like tzatziki feels like it should be the worst thing in the world for you, but it is for like actually pretty healthy.
Yeah. And I do love tzatziki. I think I just don't have a genre. I keep saying genre, but cuisine that I could favorite, because everything we're talking about, I would consider a favorite. So
hey, you love food.
I guess I just
there's nothing wrong with that. Like every food is my favorite food.
Pretty much. It's
as
true.
long as it's not a mushroom.
As long as it's not a mushroom, yeah. I don't love like I don't know. There's definitely some things that I don't like. But
tofu?
What?
Tofu?
I don't mind tofu. I just don't eat a lot of it because it's soy, and I just it's not. I'm not. But it does have to be cooked correctly, because
yeah, that's true. It can either get dried out or just be like watery and mushy.
Yeah, I can't do the watery squishy stuff, but I don't mind it in my food. But kava's a good one. And what else is good? I wish we had more stuff near me. Like me personally, I'm talking about me personally, because
like with Susai, I think like it's worth it. Like when you want to, just for the variety and like amount of things that you can build there, and like how delicious it always is, and how healthy it ends up being. I feel like it's never a bad option, even with the price hike. But I'll just end up going there substantially less, unfortunately.
Yeah, I will say that I do like that is interesting that you said like places that where you can build bowls and stuff. I do always tend to gravitate towards places like that, so maybe that's
I feel like it's just a crowd pleaser. You don't really like it is. You usually get a lot of food for like a decent price, in the exception of Susai.
I know,
but like even with Susai, at least you're never left feeling hungry, and they do have like a mini bowl you could get if you want to like trade off the size for price.
Yeah. And every time I go there though, I always end up getting more food like than I would just eat in one sitting. I always end up with leftovers, which is fine, because it's actually the leftovers are good. Like
and usually with the bowl places, like they're very like next day perfect kind of. Yeah. Have
you had their sweet soy?
Their what?
Sweets. They have like a sweet soy sauce.
Oh yeah. It's I've had that. I like the mango habanero.
Oh yeah, that's good too. It's hard to choose sometimes.
Yeah, and they also have white sauce, which is definitely not good for you. That's when you're like, I'm gonna cheat, but it is.
It's good too.
It's great.
Yeah, their white sauce is really good.
White sauce is one of those things that's a different kind of trade-off, because that makes me want to poop so bad.
Really?
But yeah, it just runs right through me. But it is one of the best tasting things.
Oh, that's weird. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's pretty bizarre for me, but
yeah.
All right, so here's the thing. I've been playing No Man's Sky, right?
What's that?
So I don't know if you're familiar with No Man's Sky. It's a pretty cool game. The thing is, it had a lot of controversy when it first came out, right? This is a situation where it was one of those games that promised a lot, and everyone was like, they did not deliver. This is a empty game, dead game, worst thing. But it has since become like the success story for these kind of games. Like they essentially never gave up on it. They kept updating it, and now it's become like basically what it was originally promised to be. And even more so, like they were releasing stuff that people were like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Like, and it's all just like free updates that like anybody can just, as long as you own the base game, you can play anything. And it's crazy. Like it's actually like really like they've added so many like systems that would be, they're almost like a whole new game kind of thing. This is like they added a whole like mech system where you can like walk around in exosuits, and added a whole system where you can like fly like space freighters and stuff through, and they have like their own interior like base modules. And they added a thing where you can like explore underwater. I should probably explain more about what the game is. Basically, it's a universe simulator. It generates like a bunch of planets and solar systems with planets in them, and you can get in a spaceship and like jump between them, and then land on like basically any planet, jump out of your ship and walk around on it, and like experience like new life forms and different vegetation. And basically each planet is like a little bit different because it's all procedurally generated based on like different rules about how that planet is and like what its climate is and stuff like that.
But it's not
it's like, really fascinating.
You don't build the worlds. They're already pre-made and you just kind of roam around.
Yeah, so they're not, I don't know if pre-made's the right word. They're procedurally generated. So they're generated at the time that you jump into the system, essentially. And it's actually technically a multiplayer game. Like everyone is in the same universe, but it's just so incredibly vast that it's like an actual galaxy. So It's so incredibly vast. You're pretty unlikely to run into a player unless you go to like a place where players hang out. Like if you're just randomly jumping through the stars, like you just will never really run into anybody because it's like going through space. I mean, it's just so incredibly vast. You'll almost never just bump into somebody by accident. But it's wild because even though there's all these people constantly going around and discovering things, you like almost every time I jump into a system, it's the first time like anybody's ever seen this system. It's like all new planets and stuff that nobody else has discovered. And it will let you know if somebody else discovered it, if somebody else has been there, or if you discovered it for the first time.
Okay.
So,
I have a couple questions.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. My first question is it like, are the worlds based on any particular time period, or is it not connected to any real world scenarios so that it's all brand new? Like, what am I trying to say? It's not like you're transporting into the future and now you're transporting around and looking at all these like future developed planets. It's like its own universe, right? So but you're still discovering new planets? Yeah,
right. So I would say that maybe where like your frame of reference is from, there's another game called Elite Dangerous that's kind of similar in a lot of ways. It's a lot more realistic, but it's also, you can do a lot less in it. Like they only recently added the ability to like get out of your ship, for example. It was almost entirely a ship-based game. So it was like you basically, from the moment you start the game, you're like flying around in a ship, and that's pretty much the whole game. Like you're just flying to different solar systems and trading goods with other people through like menus and stuff. But the cool thing about that is that their whole universe is based on like NASA data. Like it's actually like attempting to be as close to the Milky Way galaxy as possible. Like you can actually like go to Earth's solar system, for example, and like fly to Neptune or something. But then you can also just explore from at least as much as we know, like other star systems and stuff, and then the rest, anything that's incomplete data, is just kind of like also like similarly procedurally generated stuff. So that's kind of cool because it's like basically set in a futuristic version of our galaxy, whereas No Man's Sky is completely disconnected. It's like its own galaxy and universe and time period, and it's very much like built around being completely alien. So as far as like time period, I mean, you can land on planets and find very advanced stuff and also like very primitive stuff. So you can find like animals and stuff in planets that are like completely barren, or that are just in their completely natural habitat, as if like no beings had ever been there. Or you can find like little outposts and stuff of like where aliens have been or are currently. Like there are non-player characters, so you can run into all kinds of like alien races and stuff like on different planets, and they're at mostly the same technological level, because I guess the idea is that like once you're kind of sentient and in space, you kind of catch up to where the current level of technology is. So all the aliens are more or less like the same level of technology, which is futuristic. But you can also just like go to a planet where there's like non-sentient animals that live, and then you can actually like train them and like ride them if you want, like a dinosaur or something, or some kind of weird ferret, which is a fascinating system that they procedurally generate different types of animals for different worlds.
Oh,
but
cool.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. My next question is, so I don't know if you're speaking specifically for single player or multiplayer, but if it's a multiplayer, and like you said, sometimes you go to a planet and you realize nobody's discovered it yet, but sometimes you go and you realize somebody did discover it. Is it like a world, like the multiplayer world, where the longer the game exists, each planet becomes more and more inhabited, and then it's harder and harder to find and discover new untouched planets? Or is it all reset and then like, or is it just so diverse and expanse that you never really have that issue. Like it never really becomes over populated or used or,
So yeah, there's kind of like, there's areas where you can definitely like expect to find players. So there are like things around, there are occasionally like events and stuff that occur that kind of like draw players together, so to speak, like quests and stuff that end up like bringing players to specific systems or whatever. And then you will find areas where people have settled and there are like planets that are just like covered in like player bases and stuff like that. But for the most part, like if you just jump to like some random systems, you will very quickly just be out in the nether regions where like you will never find other players. There's in almost every system they have some alien activity just to keep it interesting, because it'd be pretty dull, I think, if there was like no one to like buy ammo from or like something like that. It's just like there are in almost every system like some space station or something where you can like get missions or activities and stuff like that. But for as far as like running into their players, the entire game is technically multiplayer. Like you could always theoretically run into another player, but I just Googled it, and apparently the game has been out. I forget how long it's been out. It's been out for a long time. This is one of those games, like I said, it was like a redemption arc for this game. I think it's been out like over 5 years, because it had started off being like really unpopularly received, but then like became like this game that players love. By adding all this content. And even though it's been out for like over 5 years, they have, I'm just looking from a random search, so this might not be completely accurate, but it looks like people have only discovered about 3% of the galaxy.
Oh,
so
wow.
There's a lot to be discovered.
Yeah. Okay.
It is crazy. It's like, I think they said there's like some stupid number that's like hard to even think, where it's like, I think it's like several quadrillion. 18. There's over 18 quintillion planets estimated in the No Man's Sky universe. That's as far out as it will generate, and that's created so much space that even like with millions and millions of active players every day, they can't, fill that out. Like it's just never going to get discovered by. It would take like the active player base like a billion years to like actually discover everything. So it's kind of fascinating in that way, that there's always like new and interesting stuff to discover. And even though it's like technically multiplayer, you can basically have an entirely single player experience by just like going out into where nobody is and live your life, like play your entire game where there's no other players. And theoretically, I guess somebody could find you, but it's just so incredibly unlikely. It's pretty wild.
So my next question is, you say it's like exploration and survival. So is that like a Minecraft situation where you're exploring and then you have to still get like supplies and protection and things in case you run into something that's going to hurt you, or with the weather or whatever? Yeah,
that's exactly right, Lisa. Oh. I feel like you're reading off a card or something. You could have like written the description right there. It feels very Minecrafty at times. There's no like, they kind of added like some quests and main storylines and stuff, but the game very much feels like something where you could totally ignore the main quest and just like play it. Like it's kind of a play it game rather than a beat it game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like the objective is very like soft direction. And mainly it's just like experiencing the planets and the universe, and there is building in the game. Like you can build bases and stuff on the planet surfaces, and you can do that if you're into building. You can also explore. So obviously only 3% has been explored so far. So there's tons of planets for you to launch out into space and explore. And there's a whole like scanning mechanic where you, every time you discover like a new species, you can like sell that information for money. So like you can jump around and like scan new planets from your ship to like get that information. And then you can actually like land on a ship and scan all of the different planets, or all of the different plants and animals on that, to like get more information about that planet. And if you explore and learn enough about a planet, you actually get the option to like name it and like do your own like basically you can leave a little trail of like things that you've discovered. So that's like a whole mechanic. And then there's a whole like spacefaring, like dog fighting and quest based mechanic where you get like specific objectives from like space stations, and you can go out and like be a pirate or fight pirates. And then there's like a whole trading mechanic where you can go to different solar systems, and there's resources on various planets that you can go and land and mine and or buy from merchants. But then you go to like other systems and the prices for it are different. And so you can sometimes make a profit if you sell things, if you buy things at a low price, sell things at a high price, or just find something that's valuable down on a planet and then like sell that. And so there's whole entire like ship mechanic where you can like buy different ships that have different cargo capacities or different speeds or different stuff like that to get to different systems faster with more or less cargo. And, you know, it's just like all these systems like intertwined to make a like basically infinite amount of play styles. Like really you could do everything if you wanted to. And then there's ways to like quickly teleport back to like your home base if you like to build there, and then make money by selling, like by trading, and then like get resources and build like buildings and valuable resources by like manufacturing. Essentially there's like refining and stuff. There's so many systems, it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating that they've spent like years doing this and like building up a game from basically being like hated by their communities to start off with.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's crazy. Seems kind of like a really cool concept, especially for people who may have like liked Minecraft but wanted something a little bit more immersive and a little bit more like, not immersive maybe, because you can get pretty immersed in Minecraft, but just feels more like
yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, Lisa.
Oh,
because
okay.
what I was kind of getting at actually was like 2 years ago maybe. It wasn't actually that long in retrospect. It was like 2 years after they came out that their PR kind of turned around and people started loving the game because they were like, oh my God, they're actually delivering on all the stuff they promised. Like you said, like sounds like such a cool idea, and they were really easy to sell people on that idea. Like, oh, this game's gonna have all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the problem is, coding all of that's pretty difficult. And it was one of those situations where they kind of overpromised, and when they released the game, there wasn't much there. There was the planet generation system, but it was also a little goofy. Like people were landing on planets, and the animals that were being generated didn't look at all like something that should exist.
Oh.
And just like, and a lot of the planets were very barren. There wasn't a lot going on them, and there wasn't a lot to do in general. Like it's like, great, we have this infinite void, and that's it. Like it's just a bunch of dead planets with nothing to do on them. And so everybody was pretty upset. Then it started to turn around like, wow, they're actually like for free adding in a bunch of this stuff like they originally promised to the players. So like this is crazy. So I played it like a while after the like reception kind of turned around. It was about, I think 2 years ago. And I felt like, okay, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like it's turned around. They've added a lot, like the, you know, stupid buggy stuff, like weird animals or like kind of empty planets. Like they've added more, and there's like obelisks and stuff. And there's a whole like system to like learn language and stuff. Like you can learn different alien languages, like one word at a time. And like you learn a word from talking to somebody or from finding an alien obelisk or some ancient history, Rosetta Stone style stuff. And like you can slowly learn their language, and then that helps you like be able to trade with them or like hire them as like a companion, like stuff like that. Then I'm like, okay, this is actually cool. They added a bunch of stuff, but I still fell off of it like really quick, and I wasn't able to get into it because it just felt like it was a lot, but it was just spread so thin because it was such a big universe that it was like I have to go so far to find something interesting to do. So it was like, it was kind of almost like, it was like being in an art exhibit where it's like, for a moment, it's like, whoa, this is so neat. And then you're just like,
I'm never going to be able to,
I guess I'm done here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was weird. It was like, I felt like it was a pacing issue. But then I solved it recently, at least I solved it. And that's why I'm playing it again. I found out it's the perfect tempo. It's the perfect pacing for a VR game.
Okay.
So I'm playing it in VR, and it's amazing.
Okay.
And it's like officially supports VR. It's not like one of those where, there's a lot of games where they're like, oh, you could play that game in VR, and it's like a mod, and it doesn't really work. Like you have to still like press buttons and stuff to like open doors, for example. And then it's like, well, I want to do it with my hands because I'm in VR.
Yeah.
And a lot of things like that where it's like, yeah, I mean, they put the screen on the headset so you feel like, you know, like you're immersed a little more, but it's not like the game was really meant for it. But this is like, it is actually like a full port. Like it actually like works. You can like reach out and like you can grab the tool or whatever, your multi-tool that you use to like break up minerals and stuff, mine stuff, like off your back, and you can like touch your face to activate your visor. And like when you go to interact with things, you actually like pull with your hand to open up the menu.
Yeah.
Which is still a little, that's like a place where it kind of like bridges because you're still working with a menu, which isn't like super immersive. But stuff like getting in a ship, you actually like grab the controls with your hands and actually like steer the ship with like the joystick and like stuff. Like you have to like grab onto the joystick and like tilt it left or right to like turn.
Yeah.
And then like when you get on like the little rovers on planets, like you actually grab the steering wheel and you turn like left and right to like move around. It's so cool. It's like really well done. The only problem is it's like the one downside is they've clearly designed it to be from a sitting position. Like they were like, okay, the person's always going to be sitting down and then they're going to kind of like, I don't know, maybe swivel around in their chair a little bit or something like that. And so it's a little more meant for that, which is kind of annoying for me because I like to actually like stand up and like walk around. And you can do that, but it's just like there's a few things like the UI doesn't move with you. Like if you turn around, like your health and everything will still be behind you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like so it's kind of like there are a few little like glitches that don't like quite work out, and it's kind of annoying. Like they could just, I feel like it would be really easily fixed. And they obviously put a lot of work into like making the VR work, so it's interesting. But I just found that like that pacing like really works for VR. Like I found even in games like where that feel fast paced in VR and you think like, oh well, this is like a crazy like intense game in VR. I bet if you played it like on a computer, like Beat Saber for example is like one that's like, oh, that can get really crazy. It's like it's not much crazier than like Guitar Hero or something. It would probably be like something that you think is like a crazy Beat Saber level is like probably super easy on Guitar Hero, because like on Guitar Hero you're just like pressing buttons. In Beat Saber you're actually like waving your arms around, so it has to go slower to kind of like match with that. And it feels normal in VR, but like the like gameplay shift, it's like at a whole different tempo. And actually I feel like all VR games have to be a little more toned down because it's so much more intense for you. Mm-hmm. And so like even a lot of these games, like I was saying, that have ports and stuff, like Fallout has a port, but also some things have mods, like Alien Isolation has a mod for that and stuff. I feel like they weren't really built with the right tempo in mind. They were kind of like Fallout's kind of a bad example because it is kind of like there are some pretty slow moments and like you can kind of pick how fast you want to go in Fallout. But yeah, I mean it's one of those games where there's just some speeds where you're like, this might be a little too much for VR. But I feel like No Man's Sky, it's perfect. It's like walking around on an alien world and just like looking up at like strange stars while like some weird bird bat thing that you've never seen before flies by and you're like scanning it.
Yeah.
It's like so surreal and cool.
That does sound cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
So
kind of neat.
I recommend it.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to play No Man's Sky, maybe you weren't like really that into it and you thought like, it's kind of slow. It is, but try in VR. It's interesting. Oh. And it's kind of like also interesting to like walk up to an alien and have a conversation while they're like talking a weird alien language and you understand half of it. And you're like trying to guess the right responses.
True. Yeah, that's true. Well, it could also be kind of meditative, like just a way to escape too much hard thinking and just, explore. And if you like space or science fiction or something like that, but you don't, and it didn't really resonate with the Minecraft world, there you go. Yeah,
I think that's a perfect summary. And there are some places in that game where it feels like obviously like it would be too boring if there wasn't any stress, but there are some planets that have like, for example, extreme toxicity or something where it feels very like, oh my god, I gotta get back to my ship before like I melt.
Yeah.
Because like the air is acid or whatever, and you have to hazard protection systems that you have to keep like recharged with sodium, and you need to mine it as you go through the planet. Make sure you have like a supply to keep yourself from dying, but sometimes you like really need to get back to your ship in time. And so there are some tense moments, but for the most part, like you can find like a really peaceful, nice planet to set up your base and just like chill and like sit in the grass and like watch the weird like armadillo dog thing walk around and chew on a little like star bulbs.
All right. Yeah. Well, we don't want too much calm. You know, you have to have some something to rev you up a little bit.
Yeah.
But speaking of other languages, I've been practicing. Well, I've kind of been learning Spanish. I've been trying for years and years, but I can't ever really stick to it. But I've been sticking to it pretty good lately.
Tu habla español?
Oh, yeah. Sí.
You up on that Duolingo?
Yeah. It's been great, and it's gotten way better since when I downloaded it like years ago. It's totally different now, and I feel like it's gotten a lot better in a lot of ways. So yeah, I just
I think they have a great marketing thing where they that little chime that is in between each lesson or whatever. I hear it all over the place now.
They used to have that on. I haven't heard it on the new app for some reason, and I don't know if I have to turn it on. Maybe I have my notifications or sounds turned off or something, because I know the exact sound you're saying, because I used to do it all the time, and every time I would get it and it would get it right, it'd be like ding, and I was like, yay!
Yeah, the little like bling.
It was so rewarding, and they don't do that anymore. Or at least
you got to turn it up now. Yeah, they definitely have it. I've been hearing it. I wonder if see, my thing was like, I think they like, I hear it so often because a lot of people I think have the volume on so that they can hear like the examples and like, or do the talk back or whatever.
Oh, I wouldn't do that in public.
Yeah, me neither. But I think people by default have it on. Just for that.
I do have it on, and I can hear what they're saying, and the speaking, and I speak and all of that, but I don't know, like whenever I get a good job, I don't get the nice dopamine from. Yeah,
you got to get the dopamine. You're leaving dopamine on the table, Lisa.
I am. I've got to figure that out. How do I turn that on? But yeah, so I think we'll wrap this up. I'll tell you a couple of things that I've learned in Spanish. And then we'll see you on the next. On the next one, I can recommend some games too.
Sign off in Spanish, Lisa.
So, okay. So where do I start? I'll say, "Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo te llamas? Me llamo Lisa. ¿Estudias español? ¿Estás cansado? ¿Dónde están tus zapatos? A ella le gusta leer libros. Adiós. Buenas noches. Gracias por... What is listening? Escuchar? Escuchar. Thank you for listening. That's what I'm trying to say. So
nice.
I'm learning. It's terrible. I know. Everyone who's Spanish or speaks Spanish fluently is like, oh my God.
Bleeding ears. That was pretty good.
Ears. But
not bad. What'd you say about shoes?
Oh, are you wearing any shoes? I think that's what I said. Okay. Or no, I said, where are your shoes? Because I said, donde.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where are your shoes? Where are they? You're not wearing any shoes. Thank you for listening to my sad rendition of my Spanish. And thank you for listening. Gracias por whatever that word was. Escuchar. Escuchar. I don't think that's how it's said, but I think there's more enunciation there. But
I think it's escuchar.
See you next time.
I don't come to me for pronunciation. I'm the worst.
It's hard. It's so hard.
I feel like I'm around enough Spanish that I understand. Like I understand pretty much all what you said except for the shoes. That's why I asked for clarification.
Oh.
But I wouldn't have, if you asked me to say all that in Spanish, I couldn't do it the other way around. So
yeah, I'm much better.
I gotta hit up Duolingo.
Oh, okay. I'm much better at reading Spanish than I am speaking Spanish. Like I think that I could pretty much. I don't know. I don't want to say that I could read any Spanish because I probably couldn't. There's a lot of words I don't know, but it is difficult because I'm not good with like the changes of the words, especially with gender specific stuff and I don't know. Anyways,
like la na and all that. Yeah. I feel like more so than in English, like you're intended to say it like a sentence as almost a word. Like it's not really meant to have breaks in between. It's meant to be like said in one breath. So
right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think it's a little harder for English ears to parse out like individual words when somebody just like says an entire sentence like that, and you're kind of like, whoa, hang on.
I'm like, whoa, what you just said? I'm like that.
Donde está?
Yeah, I don't know, but and also there's a lot of words that are the same but they have different meanings, and I know English does that too, but it just, you have to use like contextual clues where I'm just like, okay, I think I know what they're trying to say, but I don't always know. So.
Yeah, for me it's like sentence structure as well. Like I'll know all the words, but I'm like, I don't know what order to put them in because it's not the same as in English. Like you don't say like, I don't know, whatever. I would get it wrong, but you don't say like, I'm going to the store. You're like, to the store I'm going or whatever.
I talk in Yoda speak. Is that what you're talking?
Yeah, sometimes. Like, yeah, I don't know. In some cases, but also not. I don't know. Like, obviously, I'm not good at it. So
no, I know. I know what you
tell
mean.
you, but
it's been a challenge to remember a lot. But it's weird because I do really good on the testing. Like, whenever it tests me, I do pretty good. Like, you know, I usually get an A, whatever that is. I mean, it doesn't grade you like that, but I mean, like, I miss like 1 or 2 at the most. But then if you asked me that in person, I probably could not do it. So I think
there's also context switching. Like, I think even for people that are fluent in Spanish, sometimes it can be jarring if like somebody unexpectedly starts speaking Spanish to them. Like if they're not thinking about it and like in the context, like obviously when you're in Duolingo, you're like ready to learn and speak Spanish. Like you're ready, you have that knowledge loaded up. But like if somebody just like says a phrase to you out of the blue, you might be like, what?
Oh, that's the thing is like that's happening a lot because I work a lot with families that are Spanish speaking, so they'll speak to me and I'm trying so hard. I'm like, okay, wait, I could probably figure this out. And they just don't have the patience to like wait for me to try to figure it out. So I'm just like, oh, and then we pull out the translator and just go that route, which is nice to have. But I still want to be able to connect on a more personal level. So that's my main motivation for learning, is just like so that the patients that I have and like the families I see, that I don't have to use an app to talk between us, so that I can actually like maybe have eye contact and like actual verbiage between us. Like,
nice.
You know, like I just feel
can't wait.
Like it would be nice, but it's definitely challenging. It's so impressive to me how people can speak multiple languages, and especially like people who are older like us learning a new one, because I feel like kids pick it up really easily. Most kids, not
definitely.
all kids, but most kids do. It's just, and I'm like, I wish it was that easy. Like, just, I don't know.
You want to be a polyglot?
Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah,
not just cool, but
dope.
like,
I don't think it ever doesn't impress somebody. Like, I feel like if you ever speak like more than one language, somebody's like, whoa.
Well, yeah.
You blew my mind.
But I don't know. It just feels more personal when you can, like, I don't know. And not that it's necessary. Like, again, like, I could just use my app. It's not that big a deal. But I do feel like it adds a certain level of, I don't know, like a closer relationship when you can understand each other, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So anyways.
We're over.
Yeah, that was way over. Get out of here, guys. You're
yeah,
taking
stop.
up all of our time.
Stop. You weren't supposed to be here this long.
Goodbye.
Hey. Yeah, they won't ever let us go. They're always like silent, and that makes us want to keep talking.
You're like that person on the phone that you're just like, oh, hang up already.
Is that us?
Yeah.
Somebody's like waiting to get done with the podcast, and like they said they were ending 5 minutes.
Yeah,
God.
I know. You're like, okay, we won't keep you any longer. Go get your stuff done.
Pizza. You're
Go get
Italian.
your pizza
Go
and
get
your
it.
Italian. And was that this episode? I don't know.
I don't know. That's the issue.
See you next time.
See ya, guys.
So long, very well, pip, pip, cheerio, we'll be back soon.
I love you. That's why I say hello and goodbye. Remember our new tune.
All right, now say it in Spanish. Sing it in Spanish.